When to pitch and when to shut up. Sometimes we just kind of need to know when we should be talking and when we should not be talking. So today we're talking about the buying signals and how to read them. So in my family, a lot of times people will start saying stuff, and I always like to say, know your audience, right? Like know who you're speaking to. If you're talking with sports, examples and you know it's somebody who's never played sports before. Does that really work? So you should always know your audience, right? But today we're talking about when to know what your audience is sort of moving towards or where they're at, right? So we want to know their buying signals, and it's important. And we've talked about this in a couple of the past ones. So if you want the freebies, just drop signal down below, and I will send it over to you. All right, so when to pitch and when to shut up. I don't usually like to say that word. It just sounded good right there, but it's not in my normal vocabulary. I'll just be honest. All right, so many coaches miss the sale, not because they don't show up, but because they show up at the wrong time with the wrong energy. And this is serious. This is important, and I think it's where a lot of people kind of fall off the grid a little bit. So we're going to break down how to know when your audience is really ready for a pitch and when you need to slow down, read the room, know your audience, right? And build more connection. There's no real like black and white, right? This is a skill that we're going to learn over time. So do not beat yourself up over it. Just try to reflect and understand like where you're going and what you're doing and how well you're doing it. But there is kind of like a rhythm to the madness a little bit. Once you get going and once you start really trying to pay attention. All right, so why most pitches fall flat? So, number one, you're pitching to a cold lead thinking they're warm. So, a lot of times, well, you've heard, like the whole, like right when you put it out there and you just pitch to somebody, okay, that's terrible. But sometimes we think they're warm and they're not really that warm. Remember, the buying cycle today is so much longer than it used to be. So some of you who've been around for, 5, 10 years, you're still pitching like 1999. You're still pitching like 5 or 10 years ago. And the problem is the buying cycle has gotten a lot longer. So where they used to be warm by now, they're not. And we need to be aware of that, and we need to really be paying attention to that. Um, Sometimes another reason like it falls flat, sometimes you're pushing your offer and they're still saying, wait, what do you even do? Like you're all in your head knowing exactly what you do, how you do it, and they have zero idea what you're talking about. It's happened to the best of us. So they need a lot more information and they need to be in your world a lot longer. And sometimes you're better off sending them more videos or sending them a masterclass that you did or some freebies before just diving into the pitch. And I'm going to say sometimes, but a lot of the time, right? And then sometimes they just fail or fall flat because you're chasing after likes and comments instead of watching behavior that actually signals interest. So we have all of these things like, when this happens, I want to do this. And I do think it's good to have a flow and kind of know which direction you're going, but you also need to use a little bit of your intuition, a little bit of your knowledge of what's going on and what's happened in the past and what they're really saying. So content is going to create that conversation for you. Conversations create connections, and connections are what open the door to those conversions. So you can't just go from A to Z and do that quantum leap without doing all that stuff in the middle. It's important. All right, so this time we're going to use a framework. We've talked about it before, but just going from cold to warm to hot. You can if I give you the cheat sheet, which I will, if you drop signal down below, if I give you the cheat sheet, you'll kind of see the way it goes on there. But I just read about why people yawn sometimes. So sidetrack here. I read that a lot of times when you're talking and you're not breathing as well as you should be, it makes you yawn to get more air. So because I speak so fast, I think that's why that happens. Anyway, telling me to slow down. All right, cold. So when your buyers are cold, what are they doing? They're like watching, but they're not engaging. Caveat. I would say most, if not all of your people are lurkers. So a lot of them are watching and not engaging, but it's because they're lurkers and maybe they're just not there yet. They're lurking on your stories. Maybe they're opening your emails, but they're not clicking. Maybe they view your profile repeatedly, right? Maybe they look at it a lot and they're reading what's in there, but they're not kind of taking the plunge yet. So what should you do? Don't pitch. Do not pitch. Do not pitch, right? Focus on helping them, educating them, that type of content, like help and engage content. And what does that mean? If you actually DM with them, then maybe you say something like, hey, I've seen that you've been around. Let me know if anything I shared sparked something in you. Happy to point you in the right direction. And what does that mean? You want to send them something. You want to help them move farther with you, but not directly into a call. Why? Because they're still in the lurking stages. When they get out of that lurking stage and they really want to work with you, they're going to come directly to you and DM you. So if you're outreaching to them and they're in the lurking stage, they're still cold. Keep that in mind. Should I repeat it? So a lot of lurkers are hot, but you don't know it yet, right? And they will come directly to you and then you're good to go. But if you see them lurking and they haven't come directly to you, they could still be in the cold stage. Sorry. So you want to treat them as if they're still in the cold stage, which means they need more information from you. They need to be around you more. Maybe you invite them to your live. Maybe you invite them into your world or you send them something like a video or something that you've done. Could be a freebie. All right. So warm. What happens when they're warm? They're starting to react and engage. They're like hanging around, but now you see them a little bit more. They comment. Maybe they're responding to your polls, clicking your links, asking for your freebies. Maybe they reply to a casual story, like one of your questions or your stickers or whatever. So what should you do then? Ask them questions. We still don't know, right? Don't assume. Ask them some questions. Invite them to a low pressure conversation like, hey, you mentioned X on my poll. Curious what you're working on around that. So that low pressure conversation, you're keeping them in the DMs and just kind of trying to get that conversation going. You know, what you're working on around that. And then you're going to follow up and that, right? You're going to go farther into that. And we did one recently on that. Maybe it was the last one, but I've got a freebie for you if you want it. All right. So the hot ones. I get hot. All right. Hot ones. They're hinting or maybe, hopefully, even asking directly. And that's when we're like, yay, right? Those are the easiest ones. Those are the best ones. Don't wait for those. If you sit around waiting on the hot ones, you're not going to have a real business, right? Because they're going to be few and far between, especially at the beginning. You're going to maybe not even get them at the beginning, or they're few and far between. It will get more and more and more and more and more as you build that snowball and as you really get it going. But at the beginning, it's going to be few and far between. Now, think about this. If you spend most of your time in your DMs and you're helping and you're moving people along, you're moving them along that buyer's thing. So eventually, all of those people are following through, right? So every day, more and more will be falling through and becoming hot if you keep up with the cold, warm part all of the time. So what does that look like? They might say, so I've been meaning to work with someone like you, or I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. Do you do that? Is that what you do? Or how much is it? Right? How much is it is a buying signal. You know they're ready. So what should you do? Pitch. That's when you should pitch, right? but clearly, confidently, and with a lot of care. Remember, we want to help people no matter what, whether they end up working with us or not. We're not here to scam them. We're not here to push them into something that they're not ready to do or don't want to do. But we do want to give them all of the information that they need to move forward with us. And we do want to show them how much we can help them and the benefits of working with us and all of that. So you can use like an invitation approach. I have something that might be exactly what you're looking for. Want me to share a quick note or link? And that's a little bit heavier, right? That's a little bit heavier. And then if you're ready, so depending on how good you are, how long you've been in the game, maybe right after that, you send them like a Google Doc and just get them to sign up. Maybe that's you. I like to get on the Zoom call. That's just me. So maybe after that, I will send them some sort of a Zoom link. But you let me know. Are you a Google Doc close or Zoom link, or maybe Google Doc and then Zoom link? Give me what your preference is. All right, part 3 of this little scenario, right? So part 1 was why we crash and burn. Part 2 was the cold, warm, hot. Part 3 is the part when we need to know when to shut up. Again, I don't normally say that, so it feels funny coming out of my mouth. But when we need to zip it, right? When we need to stop speaking, when we need to not do a thing. So sometimes silence is the smartest strategy. So if they ghost after asking for details, don't chase them. Don't chase them like right away, right? Circle back in a couple of days with some curiosity, not pressure. Curiosity. This is going to be your best friend. And pressure, worst enemy. Don't ever pressure somebody. It's not a good feeling for them. It's not a good feeling for you. And it's definitely not a good feeling once they get in if they felt pressured and then they get in and then they're like icky. Ew, I hate that. Okay, don't do that. So if they haven't engaged in a while, then don't pitch out of panic. Warm them up again. Just, you don't maybe start from zero because you've had some conversations, but you definitely want to start from warm. You don't want to go right into, hey, let's hop on a call. Right? Not all leads are ready now, and that doesn't mean they're like not ready ever, or doesn't mean never. Did I get that all? Blah, blah. So the lose fast and furious lose kind of statistic is half of all of your leads will never buy from you. So if you have 100 people, 50 of them will probably never buy from you. That's okay. We're not for everybody. There, maybe some other reasons, but we're not for everybody. So 50, right? The other 50% will probably buy from you, and it's 3% now, and then the rest of them are over time. That over time now could be 3 to 6 months. That's going to be the majority. But then, 80-20 rule, the other 20, it might be a couple of years. It might be 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years. It could be a while. So don't stress yourself out and don't react. And what do I mean by that? So I've had a couple of people recently just do some really strange things. I'm working on a different project that requires us to bring in a couple of leaders, and we're sort of interviewing for the leaders. And somebody recently got confused on the time and didn't show up. And when I tried to kind of explain that, what it wasn't in your calendar, blah, 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 she blew up. But really like rude, blew up. And then contacted somebody else. And I'm like, why would you do that? So it makes no sense at all. I mean, that could ruin her chance for any type of leadership going forward, when really I would have just been like, okay, no big deal. Let's redo it. But I mean, it was bizarre. And I want to chalk it up to immaturity. I want to chalk it up to a lot of things, but it could really just be personality. And if it's personality, we need to work on it. So if your leads are not ready now, and you know that you're one of those people that might fly off, I want you to take a deep breath. Take 10 deep breaths. Take as many deep breaths as you want to. And then before you answer, type it out in a Word doc, reread it again, make sure it's what you want to say. Because there is never, never a reason to just be rude to people because they decided not to buy from you. They decided not to move forward with you. There's never a reason to do that. So if you're feeling like that, I want you to just type it out and then erase it and type what you what you really should put there. Because a lot of the times these people will come back around later. You don't want to burn that bridge. Let's just pretend for a second they never come back around later. You still don't want to burn those bridges. Why? Because those people can speak to somebody else and say, hey, I didn't actually do this, but I think this could be perfect timing for you or right for you, and refer you. You never know what's going to happen in the future. And it's never, ever, ever. And I know they say never, but I think it's never a good idea to respond negatively just because somebody isn't going to be in your world. And I know that 99.9% of you do not do that. And you're like, why are you even talking about this? And the only reason I am is because I feel like I've had like 2 or 3 recently that have just had like these bizarre reactions to things that were not appropriate. So just think about that. Um, and your state matters. If you are in like, oh my God, I need money today state, zen yourself, right? Like, you want to realize that you're in that state before you interact with people. Because if you're in that state, you're going to be pushy. Everything is going to feel like desperate and yucky. That is not what you want, right? So meditate or listen to some awesome music or whatever it is that you do to kind of change that state so that you're in the right frame of mind before you go in there. So just always remember, it may not be now, but it could be in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. It could be that they end up referring you to one of your best clients ever. It could be that they come back later, they still never buy from you, but they're one of your biggest fans and they, talk great about you. They show up to all you do. They defend you in the comments, whatever it is. You just never know. So, when to shut up. Just a lot of times it's just better to zip it than to say something that you don't want to say or to get pushy on people. That's yucky. All right, last one. What if they're not engaging? So if you're not seeing hot or warm signals, just number one, think about them like they're cold. Think about what you would do if they were cold. So you want to go back to priming your audience. That means, oh, I'm so sorry. Normally I only do it once. Priming your audience just means really getting them ready. Maybe it's you, maybe it's your messaging. Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that your messaging is super duper duper specific and clear, right? Maybe you need to take a look at the content you've been doing lately. Maybe you were consistent and you were awesome and your messaging was down and then something happened and you went to an event, like I started talking about Tony Robbins all the time. Maybe something happened and you started doing something else and then you never kind of looped back around. So maybe your messaging isn't clear. Maybe your content isn't consistent, right? Start putting yourself out there again. Do some storytelling that builds trust. People love to hear the stories and what's going on and how it relates to them and what they have going on, right? So start using some storytelling and then use some CTAs that invite micro responses. Polls, questions, DMs, you just want to get them back engaged. Example, drop signal if you want the freebie. That's an easy, low barrier kind of thing that you can do to get people engaged. So that was a real one. Drop signal if you want the freebie for this. And it's about those buyer signals again. So focus on warming them up with conversations. A lot of times it's what's happening off, not just the content, but what's happening off the public forum, in the background that really matters. So you want to warm them up with conversations, not sales tactics. not sales tactics. That is not who we are or what we want to do. And yes, you can promote. Absolutely, you can promote, but your tone has to shift. Frame your offer as a solution to something you've already been talking about all week long, all month long, all the time, whatever it is, something you've already been talking about. Use engagement-based CTAs. Hey, are you curious or just curious? Are you blah, 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 blah? Or do you want more info? Or I saw that you said X, Y, and Z. That's something that I can probably help you on. Do you want to know more about that? Do you want to see what that looks like? Right? Instead of straight sales. So send them a video of a PDF, a checklist. Just send them stuff that will get them engaged and get them more interested. Because the trust is harder and harder and harder to show. And you want them to know that no matter what happens, you still love them. You still want them in your world, whether they sign up with you or not. And that is truly how I feel. I think the more people we have in our world, the merrier it is, the better off we are. And honestly, some people will be your biggest cheerleaders and they're amazing. You want them. So the Buyer Signal Decoder freebie, I think I gave this out, I don't know, a couple times now. It is so cool. So drop signal below if you want that. It shows the signal breakdowns by stage, the cold, warm, hot, what to say at each phase, which, we always want to know what to say, but put your own spin on it, put your own words on it, make it yours. And then the DM and CTA prompts, again, amazing, 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 but put your spin on it, add some words in, take some words out, however you want to do it, make it your own. And some quick content ideas to move people from that lurker mode to the buying mode. And I'm just going to give you a little quick hint on that, but I would say one of the best ways is to just engage them. So what can you do if they're not engaging with you? Go engage with them. If they do stories, engage on their stories. Remember, that goes straight to the DMs. Ooh, right? All right. So if you want the buyer signals, just drop signal and I'm going to send that over today. That is it for today. We will see you same time, same place next week. And thank you so much for joining us. Have an amazing rest of your day.